before, everyone would come to me with sort of complaints about something that's not going well or right. And then it was my responsibility to fix it or make it right. And that was not a good dynamic that was going on. And it certainly was unconscious on my part. I didn't realize that that is what I was doing. So, through Tap the Potential for myself and through the leadership boot camp, my employees understand that they come to me now with solutions rather than just telling me what's wrong. They have ideas they want to share. They're doing things more on their own. And it's opened up a different communication style with us, which I think is healthier. It's just healthier. And also, they're taking ownership of the business. It's not, I heard it all the time. Well, it's your business. Well, guess what? It's not my business. It's our business.
You work hard in your business. On the Profit by Design podcast, we ask the big question: what has your business done for you lately? Hi, I'm Dr. Sabrina Starling, the business psychologist, the author of How to Hire the Best, and your co-host on the Profit by Design podcast. Weekly, my co-host, Mike Bruno, and I bring you tips, tools, and strategies from our own experiences and from the experiences of our guests, who are entrepreneurial thought leaders and real-life entrepreneurs, all to support you in making intentionally profitable and sustainable business decisions to live the lifestyle you desire. Profit designers, are you ready to take your life back from your business? If so, I invite you to join us in the Entrepreneurs Take Your Life Back Facebook community that we've started at Tap the Potential. Chances are, if you have a growing business, you're paying a team, and you still feel like you're having to do it all. It shouldn't be this way. Work should support life, not the other way around. And at Tap the Potential, we support entrepreneurs like you in designing sustainably profitable businesses that give you more time for what matters most and more money in your bank account than ever. In our Entrepreneurs Take Your Life Back Facebook group, I'm sharing with you lots of tips, tools, and strategies to support you in a business that gives you your life back. When you join our community, you will get access to exclusive mini trainings from me, including the Better Business, Better Life Jumpstart, as well as the How to Hire the Best Jumpstart. These free trainings are available only to the members of the Entrepreneurs Take Your Life Back Facebook community. There's no charge to join. I would love to see you there and get to know more about you. To join us, go to tapthepotential.com/group. That's tapthepotential.com/group. Profit designers, today we are going to talk about a very important topic, and that is how to get your team members to make decisions and take initiative to solve problems on their own. This is hands down one of the most frequent requests that I hear from business owners when we ask them, how can we support them in having a better team? So I have lots of experience in helping business owners get their team members taking initiative and solving problems on their own. And I'm going to give you a deep dive on this episode today about how you bring this about in your business. It's not hard. And I also want to tell you, it's not one simple step and things in the light bulb is going to go on. There are multiple pieces to making this work. I'm going to share with you what those are, and I'm going to give you your next step for how you can make this start happening in your business. So let's dive in. I want to give a big shout out to one of our Entrepreneurs Take Your Life Back community members, Patrick Finn. We posted a question to the community and asked, what do you wish your team members would do? This was such a fun question, and I loved seeing all of the responses. Patrick replied that he wished he would have his team members taking initiative and solving problems on their own instead of coming to him. And Patrick, I want you to know you are so not alone in that wish. That is one we hear so often from business owners. So I want to start by saying that what I'm sharing with you today comes straight from my upcoming book, The 4-Week Vacation. So you're going to get an overview of a couple of chapters that are in there. And if you can't catch it all, no worries, because the book will be out in October 2021. So just 5 or 6 months from now, you'll have the opportunity to get the book and read all about this too. So I think one of the important things that we need to remember is that we are in a relationship with our team members, and that relationship is a system. And when one person in that system overfunctions, it creates the opportunity for the others in that system to underfunction. Systems seek homeostasis. So if somebody's overfunctioning, others will be underfunctioning, and vice versa. When team members underfunction, the business owner gets in and overfunctions. And you can really just visualize yourself on a seesaw with your team members. And if you are in the habit of doing everything in the business and all the decisions get filtered through you, that's created a way of relating. Those are patterns and rituals that are ingrained in your relationships with your team members. And we all just kind of go on autopilot. And so when you are on this seesaw with your team members and you're overfunctioning, just imagine overfunctioning is the equivalent of you jumping onto that seesaw and your team members go flying up in the air. They're not grounded. And once they're up in the air, it's very hard for them to get the momentum and the power that they need to come back down and help you level the seesaw. Being that up in the air place is very hard for someone to come back down and level it out and get grounded. So we want to think about, how do we balance this seesaw so that we can empower our team members to come back down and be able to have some leverage, have their feet on the ground, and make this a very gentle, enjoyable seesaw experience for both the business owner and the team members. So be aware as you think about this for yourself. Most likely, you're in a role where you are over-functioning as the business owner. You're doing most of the things in the business. Decisions get filtered through you. And that's just kind of the routine and pattern that's in place with your relationship with your team members. So the beautiful thing about thinking about this as a system is that when you change your behavior, it forces the others in the relationship to change their behavior as well. So if you start behaving differently, the people around you have to behave differently. So one person can easily affect change. Now, that being said, as you start making changes, it's very likely that you will experience what's called change back behavior. This is where the other people in the relationship say, "Oh, I've noticed you're interacting with me differently now. This is uncomfortable." And they start doing things not necessarily intentionally. Some of this can be unconscious or subconscious behavior that try to get you to move back into your old way of being. Because as human beings, we don't like change. Even if the new thing is better for us, we will oftentimes do things to try to get things to go back to the old way because what we know is comfortable to us. That's our zone of comfort and safety. And so as you start working on changing the dynamic in your relationship with your team members, if you are not open with them about what's up, that you're trying to do things differently, and that you want their help in creating an environment where they feel comfortable and confident in making decisions and solving problems on their own, if you're not upfront with them about that, then more often than not, you're going to get a lot of pushback when you try to say, "Okay, I want you to make this decision on your own." You might have a team member that says, "Well, I don't know what to do. Tell me what to do." And it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't know what to do, but they're just not used to being in that position of making a decision that is uncomfortable for them. So they want to quickly get the dynamic back where they come to you with a question and you just tell them what to do. That's what they know. That's comfortable. And the other thing we have to keep in mind is that more likely than not, we have people on our teams who have tried to make decisions either in their work with you or in another employment experience that they had, and someone got mad at them for the choice that they made or how they handled something, and someone came down on them really hard. And so once they've had that experience, it's going to be very uncomfortable for them to put their neck out and try again to take an initiative and problem solve. So step number one is to be explicit with your team members that you are shifting the dynamic there, where you really want the team to start taking responsibility for making decisions and solving problems and not just relying on you. And then number two is to acknowledge the effort and not the result. So celebrate the win when you see them taking initiative and trying to solve a problem. Acknowledge it, call it out, say, hey, I so appreciate that you handled that on your own, even if the result is not exactly what you wanted. And also be very mindful of not coming down hard on them for the result if it disappoints you, because that will just shut down any decision making and initiative on your team. So in this regard, think of your team as, just baby birds learning how to fly on their own, and really celebrate every time they are getting more and more confident in their decision making and trying to sort things out on their own without involving you. Now, the next thing you need to do is think about setting your team up for success when it comes to making decisions and problem solving. I'm going to venture that the majority of business owners out there do not properly equip their team and set them up for success with this. And when we fail to do the next things that I'm going to go through with you, we're going to get a whole mixed bag of results. And that's going to make us very leery of trusting our team to make decisions without us. So like with anything, I would really encourage you to do the foundational work first before you try to really get your team going full force with making decisions and problem solving without you. So one of the very first considerations is, do you have A players on your team? A players like to take initiative. They like to problem solve. They are persistent. They want to find solutions. They don't like to be stuck. They don't want to rely on other people to fix things for them. And so in order for you to be successful in delegating and having team members who take initiative, you really need to be hiring A players. And it's not just that you want to hire A players. You want to hire A players who have values that align with the immutable laws in your business. If you can get that piece right, you have the foundational pieces that you need to allow them to start making decisions without you. If you're hiring team members who are not A players, or you're hiring A players but you're not sure or you don't sense that they have the same values you do, what you're going to get are people making decisions, and you're not going to be happy with the outcomes of those decisions. They're going to be a misalignment for your business. So take everything that I'm about to tell you next from the perspective that you have A players on your team that you're equipping to make decisions. If you are struggling to hire A players, and I know that's such a big challenge for so many of you, I would really encourage you to either read my book, How to Hire the Best, or sign up for our next How to Hire the Best course. We offer that course on a frequent basis. If it's not running right now as you're listening to the podcast, just join the wait list so that you get notified the next time we offer it. The course is at tapthepotential.com/course. This is a 5-week course, and you will go through it with the intention of becoming an employer of choice to attract a steady stream of A players who are eager to join your team. And what I love about this course, the feedback that we get from the participants is, you gave me simple action steps from week to week, Dr. Sabrina, that built on themselves. And by the end of 5 weeks, I have an A player attraction system now for my business. I know exactly what to do. So if hiring A players has been a struggle for you, I would really encourage you to take a look at that course. Again, it's at tapthepotential.com/course. Okay, so we're going forward from here, assuming you have A players on your team. So the next thing is for you to look at When you're letting go of things, what is it freeing up for you? What is it creating an opportunity for you to step into? So if you're the one that is handling all the decisions and everything runs through you, a lot of your time and energy is just going into problem solving. So if we're taking problem solving off your plate, and you get to focus on more valuable activities in the business, those $10,000 an hour activities, what opportunities are being created for you? And by the way, if you're not sure what a $10,000 an hour activity is, or what you would even be doing if you had decision making taken off your plate, check out my chart of $10,000 an hour activities. You can get that at tapthepotential.com/10K. tapthepotential.com/10K. So the reason I'm talking to you about what you would be doing is because you have a pattern, a way of being in the business that is habitual. And in order to break that pattern, you need to know what you're going to do with your time and do with yourself when your team doesn't rely on you for decision making. Otherwise, you're just going to fall back into your old ways. And, your team may have success on solving some problems, but then you find yourself feeling unnecessary and not needed in the business. And that doesn't feel good. And you're going to be tempted to just jump back in and start fixing things, which undoes all the hard work that you've been doing to get team members to make decisions. So take a look at that chart of $10,000 an hour activities and get your head wrapped around, okay, what am I going to be doing in the business that adds value when I don't have to be the one who solves all the problems and puts out all the fires? Next, we want to equip your team with decision-making parameters and tools for effective decision-making. So to do this, you need to make your team aware of your compelling, vivid vision, your immutable laws, your field of play, and what I call the filter questions. I'm going to walk you through all of these at a very high level here on the podcast. And then if you want to know more, when my book, The 4-Week Vacation, comes out, it'll all be written there in great detail. I also teach this. We teach it in our Better Business, Better Life program at Tap the Potential. So let's start with, what is your compelling, vivid vision? Your vision is where you want to take the business in 3 years or 5 years. And I use the word compelling because it needs to be a vision that you feel compelled by. I'm not talking about goals. I'm not talking about hitting a certain revenue mark. I'm talking about really thinking about, what is the experience you want to be having as the business grows? What kind of life do you want to be living? How does your business fit into that life and support that quality of life? Because remember, work supports life, not the other way around. And then what's in it for your team as you design that business? So it's compelling to you, and it's compelling to those A players who are a good fit for your team. And when you're creating this vision, you want to describe things in present tense, and you want to use as much detail as possible so that the person who's listening really feels like they're able to see a movie in their mind's eye of this experience. And this is what draws your team members in, is when they can feel themselves as a part of this vision, and they feel like they can see it happening and they can see themselves in it, can see how they stand to benefit from the achievement of this vision. So that gets everyone on your team rowing in the same direction. And once you have everyone on your team knowing, hey, this is the direction we're headed, now they have a decision-making parameter. Because when you're making decisions, you want to make decisions that support, that move you directly towards the vision for your business. And I think we've talked a lot here on the podcast and in the Entrepreneurs Take Your Life Back community about the survival trap. And when we make decisions that seem like they're sort of aligned with our vision, but then we track them out over time, over 2 or 3 years, and look at what happens if we follow that decision out over a period of time, we will see it can often take us very far away from our vision. So it's very important for us as we're making decisions to hold that vision in mind. We also want our team members to know our vision so that they are able to make decisions that are in direct alignment with the achievement of your vision. So I'll give you an example from my own business that happened about 7 or 8 years ago. As a certified People Map trainer, I had an opportunity to offer People Map to a large organization and have a year-long contract with them. The dollar figure attached to that was huge. And I was so tempted, so tempted by this opportunity. However, it was also at the same time that I had really honed in on the sweet spot of my business. And I knew in my heart of hearts that my favorite part of the work that I do is with small business owners, helping them with hiring challenges and helping them free themselves up from the day-to-day in their business. I was already working on the 4-week vacation book back then. And that opportunity to do the People Map training was a corporate contract. It would not have me dealing with my ideal clients. And the other thing that I knew about this contract is it would take a lot of time for me to execute on this. And it would have constituted at least 80% of the revenue of my business for the year ahead, which means that my business would then become dependent significantly on one particular client. And I had the sense that it might choke out my opportunity to tap the potential to work with small business owners in the direction that I wanted to go with it. So it was a very hard decision to say no, but in my gut, I felt so good about turning that contract down because I knew how much time and energy I was freeing up in my life to really be able to focus on tap the potential, helping business owners with their hiring challenges, and everything that I was putting in place to build the 4-week vacation and what ultimately became our Better Business, Better Life program. So that's why it's so important to have your vision in front of you so that you avoid those survival trap decisions. That money was so tempting at that time because I was telling myself, you could have all that money coming in and you could use that to develop your work for small business owners. But again, that was just me trying to talk myself into it. In my gut, I knew it would take me off track. And I'm so glad that I listened to my gut and made that choice that I did. So that's why I say that our vision really becomes a filter. It helps us to decide what to say yes to and what to say no to. For everything we say yes to, we need to check, does this align with our vision, or would this take me away from it over time? And for every yes we say, we're saying no to other things in our life. And then we need to get really clear on the yeses because our time is our most valuable, precious resource. We can lose money and make more of it. We cannot lose time and make more of it. So be really clear with yourself when you're saying yes to something, what the no is, or the multiple no's that exist within that yes, so that you're making a decision that really aligns with your values and your vision of where you're headed. Teaching your team about this decision-making tool and how to use the vision as a filter becomes very important when you want your team members to be making decisions and solving problems. The next tool that your team needs to be able to make effective decisions and solve problems without you is the deep understanding of your immutable laws in the business. Now, if you've been listening to the Profit by Design podcast and following me for a while, you've heard me talk about immutable laws. So I'm not going to go too far in depth on this here, but I do want to say that every one of us has immutable laws. Our immutable laws are how we do life. And they're really our core values. They're how we show up in the world. And they guide our behavior and the choices that we make. So we need to define our immutable laws as business owners, and then we use those in our hiring process because we want to be hiring people whose immutable laws match ours. So if you haven't done any work yet to define your immutable laws, I want to give you 2 simple questions that will get you started on this journey. The first question is, what's ticked you off lately? The things that tick you off violate your immutable laws. And so if you can identify what is the immutable law that you hold that's been violated, that becomes one of your immutable laws for your business. So an example from my life is I'm a woman of my word. If I tell you I'm going to do something and I don't do it, it's going to bother me. That will keep me awake at night. And one of the challenges I have is my memory. And so that's why I'm so diligent about writing things down down. Like if I commit, I'm going to do this. If I'm in a meeting and I say, yes, I will do this, I take a note and I make sure that I get that recorded in my Asana so I can make sure that something I committed to happens. So that, and the way that I have built Tap the Potential, it's very important to me that if we say we're going to do something for our clients, that it happens. And so that means we've got systems in place and processes, and we're building in checks and balances. And I'm going to tell you, we're not perfect at this. There are things that come up. I had some feedback the other day from a client. You said we were going to do this, but this didn't happen. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. We have a weakness in our system. We need to shore this up. And so we've been working on shoring that up. But that's what the value of your immutable laws are. You want to have people on your team who hold that same immutable law. I want people on the Tap the Potential team who, if they commit to something to a client, they're going to follow through and make it happen. So whatever your immutable laws are, you want to hire people on your team who embrace those, who embody those immutable laws. Another one of our immutable laws is lead with love. Be a gift. Our team members are always looking for ways to show up and serve our clients from their strengths. And that's the epitome of leading with love and being a gift. Another one of our immutable laws that you've heard over and over is work supports life, not the other way around. We really believe in living balanced lives and not letting work run over everywhere in our lives, so that when we show up with our clients, we are fully present, playing full out. And I don't believe we can do that if we're working 60 or 70 hour weeks. I believe 25, 30-hour work weeks are much more restorative for us, and they really allow us that opportunity that when we show up, we are focused and fully present and not tired and run down and, all those things that you get when people are working 12, 15, 20 hours at a time. Some of you business owners tell me you work 20-hour days. You're not showing up at your best when you're like that. So whatever your immutable laws are, you want to get them identified. So the first question is, what's ticked you off lately? That's one path to help you identify your immutable laws. Another path for identifying your immutable laws is to look at what's made you proud. So you just heard me talk about what makes me proud at Tap the Potential. It's the way that our team members really look to be a gift from their gifts and serve our clients from their gifts. And that makes me so, so proud when I see examples of that happening. Just the other day, I had a team member send me some feedback that they'd received from a client. And the client was saying, you held me accountable to this because I knew you were going to ask me about this. This got me into action. And I'm much more consistent in this thing that I needed to do in my business that I hadn't been doing previously. And I'm already seeing the results. Thank you so much. That makes me feel proud because our team member showed up and went the extra mile on something. They saw that a client needed a little extra nudge and said, I'm going to be your person. I'm going to hold you accountable for this. So get your immutable laws identified, use them as you're hiring, and then they become a decision-making filter for your team. And what I mean by this is, say you're out on a 4-week vacation and some circumstance comes up with a team member that no one has ever encountered before, not even you, and there's a challenge that needs to be addressed. If your team members hold your immutable laws and they have the vision of the business, they will make a decision of how to handle the situation that you will feel really good about, because whatever they decide to do will be in alignment with your immutable laws. But if you've hired people who don't hold the same immutable laws as you do, they're going to make decisions that might make you cringe and might make you just think, oh my gosh, I can't believe I went away for 4 weeks and left my team in charge. What was I thinking? If you have people whose immutable laws align with yours, 9 times out of 10, they're going to make a decision maybe better than the one you would have made, because they will have to make a team decision versus an independent decision that you as the business owner would make. Team decisions are usually going to be better than the business owner's decision because you have multiple perspectives, multiple people weighing in. And if they all hold your immutable laws, you're going to get a really good decision that's being made in that situation. So you want to define your vision, you want to equip your team with your immutable laws, and make sure you're hiring team members whose immutable laws align with your own. And then the next tool that your team needs to make effective decisions is the field of play. your team members need to know their field of play. This concept comes from The Game of Work by Chuck Coonrat. And he opens the book by asking this really fun question of why are we willing to work harder at sports and games than in the office? And he ponders why men who set their alarms to wake up at 3 a.m., jump out of bed, grab their coffee, and put on waders to freeze in the marsh while duck hunting will be the very same men who stumble into the office late on Monday morning and struggle to be productive throughout their day. And as he reflects on this, he talks about the large sums of money they pay for their guns, the ammo, and the other equipment. And he wonders about this big question of why are we willing to not only work harder at sports than in the office, but also pay for the privilege of playing? And the answer that he comes up with lies in that if we can make work more like a game by clearly defining the rules and the field of play, our team members know what's expected of them. They know how to win, and then they want to win. So we need to define for our team members what constitutes winning, what behavior is out of bounds, and we need to give frequent and timely performance feedback to improve their results. So we create boundaries by defining what winning looks like. And these boundaries create great freedom within the playing field. Team members will thrive in this freedom, so we're giving them the boundaries. Our immutable laws are the terminal out-of-bounds behavior. Those behaviors will result in being fired. So if you violate an immutable law, you could be fired. You also need to identify what are called disciplinary out-of-bounds behaviors. These are boundaries that at Tap the Potential, we call them our general operating principles. And when one of these is violated, it's going to result in an immediate discussion with a team member in a plan for handling the current situation, as well as how the team member will avoid violating that principle in the future. And whenever feasible, the responsibility for correcting the out-of-bounds behavior is on the team member, with support from their supervisor and other team members as appropriate. So that piece, that just knowing what is out of bounds, terminal out of bounds and disciplinary out of bounds, creates more freedom for your team members to move about on the field of play. This is one of the things that team members really struggle with, is they don't know what's expected of them. It amazes me when I talk to team members, they'll say, I wear so many hats in the business. We're short-staffed. I'm plugging in holes here, there, and everywhere. And honestly, because of that, I have no idea what's expected of me. And that's typical of a small business. That's typical of an A player in a small business. So we need to define a clear result expected from each person in their role that they're in. And if they're in multiple roles, they need to know they're responsible for one result tied to each role, and they need to know what that is. And so when you have done that, you've really defined the field of play for your team. You've defined what winning looks like. When your team members know the sweet spot of the business, which is the intersection of your top clients, your unique offering, and the systems that you have in place around it, when they understand that sweet spot and they understand their role in contributing to the profitability of the business, they have the rules of the game here. They have a big open field and they know how to play. They know what winning looks like, and they know the rules, they know the boundaries, and then they have freedom within that big open field to play the game and to play full out. Next, you want to equip your team with tools for making better decisions. And what I'm about to teach you here is something that probably you as the business owner can benefit from as well. Because when it comes to making decisions and choices in our businesses, many of us operate in reaction mode, and we rarely take the time to get input from others or sufficient input from others and think through choices and alternatives, much less consulting multiple team members before we make a decision. We tend to act as if we need to make most decisions in the moment and keep things moving. And in reality, there are very few crises in our business that can't wait a day or a week to be solved. That time to think and contemplate and explore options inevitably leads to better outcomes. It allows us to avoid paying the stupid tax. The stupid text comes from The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham. It's a very powerful book. I encourage you to read that. So this concept of thinking through decisions really is forcing you to slow down your decision-making process, and then asking your team for input will yield new perspectives and alternatives that you might not identify on your own. And the beauty of implementing this for yourself is that as you talk through decisions with your team, they're getting firsthand insight into how you use your vision and your immutable laws as filters for the decisions that you're making. They're hearing you think through the sweet spot of the business and talk about the profit impact. And so you're training your team to think in this way as well. When it comes to decision making, one step we tend to skip over is asking the powerful questions that allow us to see new possibilities or to look at the situation in a different way. When we ask powerful questions, it lets us shine light on alternatives that we might not have noticed otherwise. And so there's a process that we teach at Tap the Potential called Q-storming. And Q-storming is a process of brainstorming powerful questions. And it often leads to new insights and new possibilities. Be aware that the questions that we ask determine the solutions we find. So if we don't like the solutions we're finding, we need to be asking better questions. So powerful questions are open-ended. They don't require an immediate response. And sometimes it's better not to respond, to just sit with the questions. And so some examples of powerful questions would be, what is the real issue here? What assumptions am I making? What other ways could I approach this? What is the other person thinking, feeling, or wanting in this situation? What have I not considered? What are 3 counter arguments to my opinion? What do I not know? What am I tolerating? Where am I stopping short? What's in the way? What information do I need here to make a more informed decision? So this is just a handful of powerful questions that you could brainstorm. And so when your team is addressing an issue, it can be really helpful to brainstorm powerful questions first. In other words, to do the Q-storming before diving into solving the issue. So this slows down the decision-making process, and that's a good thing. So I want to give you some questions that you can use with your team to help make better decisions. These are decision filtering questions. Here we go. Does this choice move us directly toward our compelling, vivid vision? If yes, how does it do so? Does this decision align with our immutable laws? Does this grow or support our sweet spot? If yes, how does it do so? How does this decision impact our top clients? Does this support profitability? Remember that to build a sustainable company, the impact of a decision on the company's profitability needs to be taken into consideration. If yes, if it supports profitability, how does it do so? So notice in that question, you're being forced to think through, okay, I'm saying yes, but how does it really support the profitability? Does this further our area of innovation? If yes, how does it do so? Is this decision sustainable long term? If yes, how so? What impact does this decision have on our existing systems? Imagine we're looking back on the decision 12 months from now and it was a huge success. What made that happen? Imagine we're looking back on this decision 12 months from now and it was a failure. What went wrong? What actions will we take now to address that? Who will need to be notified of this decision? In other words, what cascading messages need to go out to the rest of the team and or clients from this decision? And who is responsible for those messages? So as you can see, this is a pretty thorough list of decision filtering questions. It takes some time to think through it. That time is good and important. It will help you, even if you don't have a team right now and you're listening to this, you're a solopreneur, and you start implementing this decision filter process as you make decisions. Yes, it slows things down, but you're going to make higher quality decisions that align with your vision and help you build that sustainably profitable business. And you're going to avoid problems and challenges down the road, fires that you're going to have to put out. I know from my own experience that a lot of the fires and challenges I've had to put out in the course of 14 or 15 years in business have been a consequence of the stupid tax, because I made a decision too quickly. I didn't take into account all sides of the situation. I was just trying to fix something and move on. So when we slow down and think things through from these different angles, we're actually speeding things up in our business. We're setting things up where we're going to have better quality decisions. So this is how, to circle back to the initial question that was asked, how do we get our team members to make decisions and solve problems on their own? This is the foundation to equip them with to be able to do this. And as they go out there and they start making decisions and solving problems on their own, celebrate the effort to do so rather than the result. It's all about saying, yes, I'm so proud of you. You took initiative. You went to your other team member. You guys worked through this challenge together and you came up with a solution. The client is happy. It's in alignment with our company values. That's so awesome. I'm proud of you for doing that. That's what your team members need to hear, and they need to hear it over and over because they need to have the confidence that you want them making decisions. And remember, once your team is ready to start making decisions and you're handing this over, don't take it back inadvertently by falling back into your old ways just because not being the one making the decision suddenly feels uncomfortable. You have to just kind of sit on your hands, put the imaginary duct tape over your mouth, and let your team members solve the challenges. So I hope this has been helpful to you today. Remember, this all hinges on you having A players on your team. And if you need help in hiring those A players, I encourage you to take a look at my book, How to Hire the Best. And if you're ready to go full in and get your system in place to attract that steady stream of A players who are eager to join your team, check out my course at tapthepotential.com/course.
Thank you for spending time with us today. Join our conversation in the Entrepreneurs Take Your Life Back Facebook community at tapthepotential.com/group. Share your aha moments from today's episode, ask me questions, and join in on the fun with your fellow entrepreneurs on the journey to designing sustainably profitable businesses that give you more time for what matters most and more money in your bank account than ever. And finally, share today's episode with a friend if you know a friend who would enjoy it. This is real life business. Keep your chin up, keep moving forward. You got this. If you're loving the Profit by Design podcast and have gotten any value out of it for your business or your life, would you mind doing two things? Subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode, and please leave us a review. Our listener reviews help us get into the top 10 of all entrepreneurship podcasts so that more entrepreneurs like you discover us. Your review is critical in helping us make a difference for more entrepreneurs who are ready to take their life back.